Hi and welcome to Lincolnshire Fenn Crafts needle felting tutorials. I'm really looking forward to teaching you how to needle felt this Highland Cow. Hi and welcome back to the Highland Cow needle felting tutorial. So here we are. We've got our legs attached, our body, our head, our neck all firmly attached, nicely shaped, and we've built up the sides of the legs here so that it create more volume and shape when we actually add that nice top layer. So what we're going to start with now is we're going to start adding some facial details on, and the first thing I want to do is do the horns, because then we'll base everything around where we've got those centered. They are so easy to do. I don't use clay. I just don't get on with it very well. I just sort of prefer to use the wool wherever I can, and you don't need clay with this at all. The horns are really easy. So just take a little bit of contrasting wool. This is a very light brown. If you have the kit, then this will be in the kit, and I've just taken a thin strip off that piece there. And then all we're going to do is just, in fact, I'll pop this on the mat because you may be using a foam mat. So I'll just show you on here. Just pop it on there, and we're just sort of matting it together a little bit, and just use your needle just to turn that over, because what we're going to do is we're going to create this shape pretty much just using our hands. So we'll just mat that down a little bit, turn it over so it doesn't stick, and that's it. Then all we're going to do is lay that in the palm of our hands, and we're going to roll. And the heat and the friction, can you see, starts to mat that wool straight away. It's a bit like when you shrink something in the washing machine that you didn't mean to, but without the water. And this is why wool is so amazing. There's so much you can do with it. And can you see, just by rolling that now, we're getting this really nice, smooth shape. And the horns are quite long, so I'll see where we're at with these. But that's pretty much it. And then those horns are going to sit on the back of the head, like so. And all we're going to do is going to take our felting needle and just poke through the middle of that. And doing this will actually shrink the length of those horns slightly anyway, because it's pushing and tangling all the wool down through the head. And then just hold it flat with your finger there, and just come over and a few pokes with the needle, just so it's not sticking up too much. And then, as you can see, those horns can just be moved and shaped with your fingers. And these might be a little bit long, but when we get to the end, I might just trim them a little bit. But all you need to do, just to really sort of mat those ends, is just twizzle with your fingers. I do a lot of twizzling in needle felting because it creates such brilliant shapes. Hedgehogs. If you make hedgehogs, I have a video tutorial for hedgehogs, and we do a lot of twizzling for the spikes for that. Again, I use just the loose wool for the spikes. It's really easy. There we go. So we can play about with that later on, but we just wanted to get that in, so it's sat there, so it will act as our guide. The next thing we're going to do is the nose. Now the nose is simple, but you will probably find that you will do it 2 or 3 times, and that's fine, because we're using just a tiny amount of wool, but we want to get it really shaped well, because this is what you're going to look at. This is what you're going to see. It's their signature piece, really, is the nose. So again, I've got the wool that's the same colour as the horns, so it's a really nice contrast. And you don't felt or do anything with it. You just pop it on the nose. Can you see there? And then you just gently felt it on. And what you do is, the nose is quite square or rectangular. So we're just going to bring that wool in, bring those edges in, and just shape that onto the face. We don't do it before we put it on the face. You can't really do it that way, I don't think. So we've just got some nice contrast going on here. And the more you bring that up, the more you will see. And can you see how that's starting to shape now? So I'll just pop it here so you can see, and then just bring that over. So we want quite a, you know, a nice flat edge shape, straight edges. That's gone on quite well. But I do think I'd like a little bit more contrast, so I'm going to add just a little bit more wool on top, because what I've got is I've got quite a lot of that brown showing through still. So can you see how that immediately changes that colour? So I'll pop a bit more on, and like I say, it is really simple, but you will probably do it 2 or 3 times before you're happy with it. And you are just pushing that needle, can you see, just into the top of the nose. You don't want to be dragging this wool right through the face. It just wants to sit on the top. And I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. And then if it's a little bit rough, you can just use your finger and that just smooths it out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create the nostrils. Really easy again. Just messing with that a little bit. You can mess with this and play around with that all you like. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's pretty good. And then I want to create some nostrils. So I'm going to push my needle straight through all the way down. Just pull it back up a little bit. And then I'm just going to wag it around. But just do it gently. You don't want to break the needle. So can you see what I'm doing there? Just gently moving it from side to side, so that just creates that nostril, because we're actually going to pop some dark wool in there. So hold it and then give it a little wiggle around, keep that needle straight, and it's the strong bit at the top here that we're using to create that hole. But if you've got an awl, a brad awl, or you know, or I don't know, a cocktail stick or something like that. Actually, I've got one here. Let's have a look. You could do the same, and then you can be a bit more fierce with it. But with the needle, you actually manage to get that in, and then give it a good wag about. And then I'm going to take 2 tiny pieces of dark wool. And when I say tiny, I mean really tiny, barely there. You can hardly see that. And then just roll that in your finger, or in between your fingers. My hands are little bit dry, so the wool's sticking to it. And then where you've created that little hole, just push that down. Can you see how it just disappears? We don't want this nose to stand out like a sore thumb. We want it to be part of the animal. There you go. And then the other tiny amount, do exactly the same. And you can see how that's disappeared in there a little bit. So I'm just going to take a bit more. But less is always more when you do this. You really do need small amounts. And remember what I said, you know, it's easier just to add to it and take it away. And if you just push straight down, if there's too much, if you just push straight down, then you can feed some of that wool into the face and it disappears. So there you go. That's looking quite good, actually. I'm pleased with that. Okay. So next we're going to pop the ears on, and the ears are going to sit just near the side of the head, just in front of the horns. So here's the ears that we made in the previous tutorial. So you've got this loose bit at the end here, which is what we're actually going to use to felt on those ears. I'm just thinking, I think if we lay the ear flat there, I think that would be the easiest way. Doesn't really matter. So you can see it's laid flat, and I'm just working that loose wool into the head. This head's going to be covered up mostly, for the most part, so don't worry if it looks a little bit untidy. But what you've done is you've felted down the loose wool, and now you can flip the ear around and start securing it properly, and make sure it sits to the side, and then you can start pulling that shape around, and then maybe pop it to the side there, and then just felt in the back of the ear there. No, I think, oh no, that's going to work. No, that's going to be okay. I thought I'd moved it too far back, but I can move that around quite a bit. There we go. Just move that down. So easy enough to put on, just a little bit awkward until you find the spot. That's it. There we go. And then we do the same with the other ear. So it wants to sit about there. So this time I'm going to show you the other way. You can just work from the back where that loose wool was. So can you see how I'm just working there? So let's just get this loose wool attached. And then we can position it. And let's see where we're at. So it's looking a bit long there. So what you can do is, if it's too long, is go from the top and work through the wool, and what that will do is that will drag that ear down. Move my hands, it's just difficult for you to see. There we go. You can work through from the top there, straight down at the base of the ear, and that will actually shorten it. And then let's get this down here as well. So you can be quite rough with this, don't mess about, you don't have to be delicate. There we go. So that's more or less, yeah, that's looking pretty good. And then these horns, pull that down, just fasten that horn on there because it's just loosened a little bit. And just bring that down there so it sits behind the ear, and then they will actually come down a bit later when we have actually finished. So there we go. Get those in position. Check that everything's where it should be. I'll let you work on that for a little bit, and then we'll come back and do the eyes.